Hey everyone, hopefully you're having a good day. My name's Andy. My channel's Finding Value. Today we're going to go and do our daily technical analysis update of gold and silver. We'll go through dollar, 10-year yield, precious metals themselves, the physical metals, future markets, and then the ETFs and individual companies to gauge what's going on with the sector. This is just my financial opinion. Please don't use this as advice. And we'll dive in here and get started right now. So here's the dollar. Dollar remaining resilient. It is flat today, basically down barely anything. So flat to sideways on the dollar. Longer term, I do think this will eventually head lower. In the short term or interim term, we could see a stronger dollar in the very short term. 10-year yield moving higher, 0.93%. Usually you don't see a higher 10-year yield. Granted, we have a kind of a two larger down yield days before it. But usually yields decline when markets get scared. They run into bonds, especially United States bonds, American bonds, or dollar bonds, I should say. So we had interest rates go up, and if they continue to go up like this is stair-stepping higher, and I might have drawn this incorrectly. I mean, obviously this could be a sideways thing. It could be putting down. I'll just take these out for the moment. But everything's looking okay, and I don't see like a huge market sell-off, because usually if you're going to have a huge market sell-off, you're going to have people running into bonds in mass if it's a deflationary type event. I do think that we're going to see pressure in stocks, and I don't think it's going to be it'll be contained to stocks and bonds. I think the housing market's going to drive interest rates higher, which is going to drive the stock market lower. I just looked at this. The CRB Index looks like it was rocketing higher today, so that's a very good sign for commodities. Gold, slightly lower, down $2. I mean, basically a flat day today for gold. We did break out of this pattern, this large pattern that's been developing, and we've just been bopping sideways with it. Silver went up today, looking quite strong. It's approaching the 2450 level. We'll see if it breaks that level and closes above it. If it does, that puts a lot more evidence behind a move in gold and a continued move in gold and silver. I'd really like to see this silver price break and close above 2450 and hold for a week. Platinum, basically a flat day today. Looking at platinum, just moving sideways. It looks almost like we're putting in, I'll just draw it in, it's a little bit quicker, kind of a pattern, a continuation flag pattern or something like that. XAU to gold ratio, this is the gold silver mining index versus, and we're pulling on back. Again, what usually happens is you get a breakout and then a return move back and then a break eventually. And we're doing that return move right now, which is a good thing. We're going to pull back a little bit, and then I think we'll take off, which means the gold and silver mining companies will outperform soon, if that is true. Karora Resources is just paused. I'm going to do another little drawing here, kind of like a flag type pattern going on. Something like that. And we're right above this long-term resistance line. So everything looks good. We could have a return move even all the way back down to 387 and still be good to go. EXK moving on up a little bit with the price of silver. Again, we're kind of in this, I'd really like to break this downtrend line here. Kind of got, even though it's not a strong down, it's only 2 contact points. 3 would be better, but we're just kind of drifting lower at the moment. SILJ, this is the Silver Junior ETF, SILJ. And we've got kind of this pattern developing here that we hit our head on it. So we hit it again, and we got to break through this downtrend line that we've got for SILJ. GDX, this guy's looking pretty good. We broke to the upside. We're doing a little bit of a return move today. We'll see if this support line holds underneath it. Trying to select one of those lines. Looking at MMNGF, Metallic Minerals, a small silver exploration company. This guy's just chopping sideways, flat day today, but we're in a bigger pattern that is bullish to break to the upside eventually. Koya Resources coming up, getting a little bit tipsy there. We might come back just a little bit before heading higher, but the downtrend line is broken. Everything still looks good. Discovery Silver chopping sideways. What I do see, I do see these like big bearish engulfing, bearish piercing, and a bearish piercing here. This could head a little bit lower before heading higher. Every time we hit these areas, it looks like we get a little bit of sellers. The sellers awaken. AG, First Majestic Silver, pretty popular mid-sized silver company. Getting a little bit of a pullback. I still think we'll pull back a little bit more based off of this bearish engulfing pattern. Usually that resolves lower, and we're right at the top of a resistance line, potentially a resistance line here. This is Newmont, NEM. Newmont getting a bearish engulfing. We're right at the resistance line of this long-term resistance line, back and out. We're probably going to bounce a little bit before we break out of this big old pattern for Newmont Corporation. So I think we're going to have a pullback in NEM in the short term. It looks like we got support. We're pulling back to support in Mag Silver. We've got a kind of a pattern that looks like this. And it's slightly downward. So usually that means that we're going to break to the upside. Anything that's tilting downward is good for a move to the upside. Anything tilting upward from a left to right is a continuation pattern downward. So it looks good, looks okay. AUI, Yamana Gold. This was one that broke out of its pattern. It's still running a little bit. So that one looks quite good. We could have a return move, so don't be afraid if this thing pulls back a little bit before heading higher. Seems pretty standard for the return moves. Impact Silver ISVLF, just chopping sideways. Lots of resistance in this box that I've drawn there, and it continues to be resistance. AAGFF, which is Aftermath Silver, up 2.6%. If it wants to load here. We love you, Aftermath. Well, Aftermath doesn't want to load, so I'm going to PLG, Platinum Group Metals. Platinum Group Metals, this is a majority palladium company, which is actually probably good because palladium's pretty short. We've got a declining wedge pattern that's broken to the upside. Yeah, we have a down day today. We're going to be bouncing all over the place with volatility, but still, it looks okay. The overall big picture view, though, this thing has sold off quite dramatically, and it's trying to regain itself. Sandstorm Gold, one that I like. I like this royalty company quite a bit. I bought a lot in here. It's got the continuation move with the big up days and then the small sideways down days. I think this will continue higher eventually. Looks good still. Franco-Nevada, FNV, getting a little bit more of a sell-off. A little bit of wick at the top, which means we ran into some sellers here, and it's kind of reversing down. We could come back to the support line, but it's a pretty good ways away. I think more than likely we'll probably, maybe come back somewhere like in here or something like that. EMX getting a little bit of a sell-off today. I do think this is probably going to head lower. It's bearish engulfing here, where this guy engulfs the candlestick before it. And usually that resolves itself lower with this type of pattern. TEUTF. This is a bearish engulfing. Usually they resolve themselves lower, but we have support right underneath it. So we'll see what happens there. Wheat and precious metals down a little bit today. The royalty companies that I'm going through here. Wheat and precious metals is a majority royalty on a lot of silver. This did break to the upside. We're right at the support line here. So everything's looking quite good if this support can hold for a move higher. Gold Royalty Company getting a little bit of a sell-off today, moving on down. Metallo Royalty bouncing off its resistance line up here, bouncing back lower, probably heading towards the center to the bottom of its pattern. MMX, which is Mavericks Metals, down a little bit today, down 0.64%. So we're down a little bit there. Looks like we've got kind of a good old little resistance line here coming there, and then maybe like another one here on a little bit bigger scale that we're bouncing through. So it still has some time, probably going sideways. Royal Gold, we've got a bearish engulfing pattern that will probably head lower for Royal Gold on the short term. And then Cisco Gold Royalties, we're still in this large pattern here, bouncing sideways in it. And it still has some time before I think we break higher. We should be hopefully trying to break this guy in the short term there. And then perhaps another one that's coming, something like that, on the lines of that. But that's what I have for today, guys. Really, I mean, I'm not doing anything. I'm not buying. I'm not selling. I just hold on to my shares. I think the market conditions are good for a move higher eventually. We'll see where this all goes. I'm just sitting in it. I've got my physical precious metals. The market conditions are good in the expansionary phase of real estate for an inflationary boom. Interest rates are moving on up. I would say when inventory starts to increase in real estate and the housing starts to decline and the interest rates start to decline, that's when I would worry. That's when I would worry. But right now, I'm just in a hold mode. Give me a thumbs up for the content. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And thank you for listening. This is Finding Value.